Welcome to Forensic Friday.
Where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all. This one's going to make you pissed.
Wait.
It's going to make you so mad. And also, I have a couple of funny stories about it.
Great.
Not funny. It's sad what happened, but weird coincidences and a Tina moment.
Mm.
So let me just see. Oh, there's a little more like I have a, she's just laughing at me. Nat and I literally work together. How many hours did we work together today?
We both got there at 9.
Yeah. I was
And
putting my makeup on when you pulled up. We all got there at the same time, like 4 of us, which is funny.
we got there at 9 and left at 6. Yeah, we worked 9 hours today.
Oh, like the old days. But better because we have a place to put our crap and water and all kinds of things, which is wonderful. That's great. We've got a live one for you tonight, my friend. And some of you are going to go, "Oh, I've heard of this before." Well, yes, you have. If you watch Dateline because it was the season premiere. But what you don't know is the extra expertise that we're going to bring to this one because I had some big feels watching this. So, I had a stressful couple weeks with work and I talked to my parents and I said, I need like a Dateline night. I just need a Dateline night with my parents, which we haven't done in a very long time. And it's just fun. I go over there and sometimes we make popcorn and we watch Dateline or 2020 or whatever. And I always thought 2020 and Dateline were the same thing for a very long time. I think because a lot of people just watch both.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Dateline is NBC, 2020 is ABC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I ended up being irate over this, and I was one of them. I was going to watch both. My parents were going to record both, and we were going to watch 2020 and we were going to watch Dateline, and we thought they were both Colorado cases. That's what it sounded like.
Okay.
They did the same case on 2020 and Dateline, both as their season premiere, which was weird. So I was highly disappointed because I wanted to do 2 and I did 1. And also I think I would have liked the Dateline one better, but we started with the 2021. So anyway, so we are talking about the murder of Kristil Krug.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you kind of an overview and then not a ton of detaily stuff because I really want to talk to you, Nat, about some of the dynamics that got missed in the investigation and confirmation bias.
Is it Crystal CRY?
Kristil, which is actually a really pretty, it's like Kristil.
Okay, got it. I have
Yes.
a picture in my head.
Yes. Okay. So
AF.
Kristil's a Colorado mother who
Okay.
came forward to authorities after she started receiving threatening messages from an ex-boyfriend. So she starts getting these messages. They're pretty benign at first, but they kind of get a little bit more and more intense. And then the husband also starts getting messages, including a picture of him when he was at work, which was a little bit weird and concerning. And eventually, what happens a few weeks to, I don't know, a month or so later, she is found dead at home in her garage. And so we're going to talk about how this all happened and what the investigation looked like.
Mhm.
So, Kristil Krug, at the time of her death, was a 39-year-old mother of 3 in Broomfield, Colorado, which is, again, what, an hour? How far is it from our office? Like an hour, maybe 45 minutes. We have a coworker who commutes from there, maybe 45 minutes, maybe more.
45 to an hour.
And It's north of Denver. So for those of you who are not local, it's kind of a suburb of Denver. It's a northwest suburb of Denver. She married Daniel Krug in 2007 after they met in grad school.
Mhm.
So one of the very first things that happened, I'm watching this episode and I see her wedding picture and I'm like, that's my wedding dress. That's my
Creep.
wedding dress. And my mom's sitting there and we're looking at each other and we're looking at this dress. And then she talks about how special the dress was, pulls it out, the mom does, pulls it out of the box. And I'm like, there's going to be buttons all down the back of that dress. It was my dress.
That's
Not only
wild.
was it my dress, it was my dress and she altered it the same way I did. So she added like the exact same like halter straps to that dress that I added to mine. So her dress was mine customized to look just like mine.
Oh my
It's
God.
wild. We'll do a side by side. I'll send you a picture. You can do a side by side. So I told mom before I knew that they were married in 2007, we were like, we got to see if she got married in 2007 because I got married in 2007. So that was the year that this dress was put out by Priscilla of Boston.
Okay.
Sure enough, it was my dress.
That's wild.
So that already I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got married the same year. She's wearing my dress. This is weird."
Yeah.
So I'm invested, right? You know, if you have the same wedding dress as someone, like it might as well be sisters. That's a pretty big deal.
You're not wrong.
You know what I mean? It's such a unique thing to you to pick a wedding dress, you know?
Mhm.
Okay. So they have their three kids at the time of her death. Their ages 8 to 14. So there's a spread. And in October of 2023, that's when the first text came through.
Mhm.
So the first text was you game question mark.
Mhm.
Basically you game. And didn't say, really what they were referring to. The follow-up text messages that started to come in were your license plate expired. Gotta fix that.
Mm.
So I'm sitting with my parents and I'm like, what's your first thought when you hear that? Your license plate expired. Gotta fix that. Is
Mm.
that something that you've ever read in a police report before?
I mean, no.
No. Why?
I need to think of like what my first thought is.
I want to know because I know what I told my parents.
I don't know. Like, it sounds like something a parent would say,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
Also, I found your pictures of you in your wedding dress.
Did you find him? Okay, pick a good one. You help a sister out. Pick a good one. But it is I mean, that is literally her dress
No, I know.
altered
I'm
the
seeing.
same way. It's
Yeah,
insane.
100%.
Anyway, your license plate expired. Got to fix that. I look right at my parents
Thanks, Mom.
and I said, stalkers don't say that. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, listen, I read police reports with stalking involved on the daily.
Right.
Never have I ever seen a license plate one. I'd be like, hey, your check engine light's on. Like it feels like that. Okay. It's just weird.
You know what, though? I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. If she
Mm-mm.
if she had a stalker, that's the thing to say. Really quickly.
Not that it expired. You might say, hey, you got a new truck, or oh, I see you're driving the red sedan, or like something like general, but not your license plate is expired.
Shows that they're very attentive to detail.
Yeah, criminals just don't do that. I'm sorry. I've never seen it. I haven't seen it ever in my career.
I could see like someone being obsessed could do that. Yeah, so I'm listening to Sherry, is her name Sherry? Yes, Sherry Frankie's book.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Ruby Frankie's daughter?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And there's so much more in her life that we didn't know about because obviously we focused more on Ruby,
Hmm.
but she had it was a whole thing, but we'll have to do a mini on her book to be honest with you. Long story short, there was this dude who was obsessed with her, with Sherry. who I could see doing something like that, where he would probably like I could see him texting her and being like, this is expired. Like I can help you take care of it.
Yes. I mean, I could see that, but it's the expired part that's sending me.
I
Even
know.
sending a picture of the license plate, I'd be like, okay, that's creepy and weird. You've got a license plate number. But saying gotta fix that about a license plate is weird.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
It's weird. I'm sorry. Now saying, hey, you really should fix your porch light, that's scary. Okay. Or hey, you should park under a light. Like something like that is like scary. This I'm sorry. I've never seen this in my career.
Stalker trying to be helpful.
Cool. So nice. And not identify themselves and low-key scare you. It's fascinating.
Right.
Okay, so after we're trying to be helpful with the license plates, the stalker says, you don't belong in that big house. You belong with me.
Oh my God.
Okay, also weird. First of all, if you're trying to compete for somebody's attention, you might not point out their big house. Be like, you don't belong with that ugly man. You belong with me. Not like, your big nice house. Get out of there and come hang with me. Like it's weird. I'll get rid of him and then we can be together. Then there was an email containing a photo of a man at her workplace, okay, that just randomly was sent to her. Kristil calls police and she's convinced it's her former boyfriend. Although when they talked to her, they had an amicable parting back in the day, but they have connected a couple times over the years. And the last time they had connected, it didn't go super well, which I'll get into in a minute. She starts logging every message time and number.
Okay.
Okay.
Smart.
The thing that I love about her, even in the very beginning of getting these messages, from the first message or two, she's on it.
Mm.
She took a lot of action in this case to try to protect herself. It also makes this case even more tragic, though, because she took a lot of actions that we would recommend to keep yourself safe, and it still didn't work. And we may or may not have a deputy doodah in here, unfortunately. I feel like for how much I respect law enforcement, which is a lot, honestly, occasionally we're going to have a Deputy Doodah award, and there's one in this. So we'll get there. Okay. So with this ex, they start to go into this history with this ex. Their relationship had ended in 2000, so that's 7 years before she married her husband.
Okay.
The ex had reached out to her every few years or so. So like 2002, 2005, 2010, and into 2016 via
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay.
She eventually told him to stop.
Hmm.
She said, you got to stop. And then they had no contact after that. He was upset, but they had no contact after that. His Facebook showed that he lived in Utah. The police report lists him as location unknown.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
Hmm.
The husband comes in and also is sitting in interviews with her, and they're both scared and they're telling police, what about our children? I'm nervous about something happening. They were feeling more and more concerned as these messages were coming through. And particularly I think the pictures got spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the police are going, yeah, yeah, we hear you, but also, we can't find your ex. And that's what they say in the show. We can't find him. His Facebook said he lives in Utah. We can't find him, which is very weird.
Super weird.
I had a first name one time, found a Facebook, and then knew this man's life story this side of 30 minutes. So this is
Oh,
the deputy doodah part. I don't understand this. Okay, but it's a mystery. Nobody knows where he is. It's fine. Okay. December 14th of 2023 at 8 a.m., Christine returns home after school drop off. And then a little bit after that, 8:56 a.m. ish, messages start going out from the husband to Kristil, checking in on her. Like he had a question for her, and then she just didn't answer for a couple of hours. And, eventually he starts to get concerned. Like you think about if you were texting Press during the day or I'm texting Garrett, eventually you're like, what is going on with them? Why won't they pick up?
Right.
So he calls in a welfare check. He calls in a welfare check at 12:28 p.m.
Hmm.
Police respond. They look through the garage window just as someone from the neighborhood had come to the front door because I believe the husband had also gotten in a hold of a neighbor and said, "Hey, can you go look? Like, go see if she's okay. She's not answering."
Mhm.
Right? So the officer, and they have body cam footage of this. The officer looks in and sees Christine on the ground, sees blood, and is trying to figure out, like, did she fall? Did she lose consciousness? Whatever. They get into the house, um, and then this officer immediately starts performing CPR. And
Mhm.
he started, this is where I say law enforcement, this was something that the responding officer did that was pretty incredible. Not only did he do CPR, he did it for a long time before he got help, and he did not clear the house first. You know how sometimes officers will, I don't know their protocol, so don't quote me on this, but the safest thing for an officer is to clear a house first because you don't know who's where with what. You don't know what happened. He didn't do that. He immediately was rendering aid to her immediately and still kind of didn't know what was going on. So he's doing CPR, and then the first responders get there and they see she's been stabbed. She's been stabbed. So not only did she have an injury to her head, but she had been stabbed.
Wow.
Mhm. So police begin to investigate. Um, they show Christine's husband getting home and just he just collapses. Like he just collapses on the ground. He's so upset. And police are there, and her family, I can't remember if it was her mom. I think it was her mom. Her parents are so cool. They're divorced, but they're like
Tight.
really nice, have like co-parented really well. And we're sitting together almost like a couple, honestly, on the thing. Like they had a lot of kind camaraderie. But they show in the body cam footage the moment that the mom got there, and the mom actually saw her and freaks out and sees the cop working on her. So it was really traumatic for the family, right?
That's super sad.
So what are you thinking so far?
Well, I mean, our narrative's like it's always the husband.
Mm-hmm.
So I have still like I still have a suspicion that maybe it could be him.
Mm-hmm.
But with the fact that you said like he collapsed,
Oh yeah, I mean, like devastated.
he like really fake that stuff, as we know from our Chris Watts case.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, maybe it's not the husband. Maybe it is some psycho ex.
Mm-hmm.
Because my brain went to like maybe the husband got like a burner and is like
Mm-hmm.
gaslighting her. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And maybe that's still happening and he's just a good actor, but
Mm-hmm.
just I'm like sad that the family saw it and
Oh yeah.
hard.
And he's going, I'm gonna have to tell the kids. I mean, the whole 9 yards, right?
I
Well,
still
let me
use the husband.
well, let me tell you about Kristil for a second. She, like I said earlier, biochemical engineer,
Super smart.
also creative. This was a brilliant human being.
Right.
So, couple of things that she did that I hadn't mentioned.
Mhm.
She bought a gun and got a concealed carry permit and even had a purse that she wore so that she could protect herself. She did that almost immediately. She went in and updated the police. She handed everything over to them. She told them, my ex has never been anything but kind. When I asked him to stop contacting me, he stopped contacting me. I don't think it's him. He was upset when I told him to stop, but it was hard to imagine it would be him, but this is the only person she could think of that
Mm.
it would be, right? Well, this is where we get into Deputy Duda a little bit. Okay. So if you look at me and you say it's always the husband,
Mhm.
how did law enforcement not think to themselves it's always the husband? Mhm. I will say Daniel, until they figured out that it was him, did turn in some like Emmy worthy, Oscar worthy performances. So he
Very
he was pretty freaked out in the interviews and saying things like, I just want to protect her. I feel like I can't protect her. So I mean, he played this up pretty good, and law enforcement saw him largely as a concerned husband in the beginning before she died.
What year did she die again?
She died in 2023.
Oh, so not that long ago. I was gonna give the police benefit of the doubt. I
Yeah, you
can't.
can't. This is a doodah. It's a
Yeah.
doodah day. It really is. It's not great. Because this speaks to confirmation bias, which is really one of the things I wanted to talk with you about for this case. Because Daniel, the husband, was with her, like like really supporting her when the texts start coming in law enforcement's eyes, they
Mhm.
really didn't consider him.
Hmm.
They didn't consider him, and they're thinking there's nothing to see here, which that's reasonable. I can understand a little bit of that. The part that bugs me, how in the world, when you know the messages have come from Facebook historically, can you not find this man? This is not that hard. You have a name, you have Facebook, you have messages in a couple of different formats, including an email. I know an email they can figure out.
Mhm.
So we had an early confirmation bias on the part of law enforcement.
Yep.
It took her getting ambushed by Daniel when she came home from dropping her kids at school with 2 blows to the head and a stab to the chest for them to finally do the police work that they needed to do in the beginning of a stalking case. And when it comes to the digital forensics, a lot of times smaller jurisdictions just don't do this work. We've had a few cases like this. This happened with the mom that was stalking the daughter. Now no one died, but could have.
Insane.
I mean, that was a crazy case too. And if they'd had the forensics rolling before, they could have saved a lot of people some pain, right? So here's a couple things that Daniel did. Okay. So he ambushes her when she comes home from taking the kids to school. He disabled the home security thing on her, using her phone. So
Mhm.
he basically ambushes her, then takes her phone, disables home security. I don't know what he thought that was going to prove. And then I shit you not, Natalie, he put he put tape, like blue tape, over the doorbell camera.
Wow.
And then he leaves for work a little bit later than normal.
Mhm.
At 8:56 a.m., he sends pre-scheduled text messages to Kristil's phone trying to check in on her. And then he did the welfare check. Now, the welfare check is also super suspicious. I looked at my parents and I'm like, who in their right mind would do a welfare check and not just drive home to see if your person's there?
Right.
Weird. Like, if you're really worried, go home.
Well, that kind of speaks to what we talked about with Chris Watts's case when the police are like, hey, we're concerned that she's like inside, not okay. And he's like, I'll be home in 5 minutes. Like, you break that door down if you're
Hmm.
not a part of it.
For sure. Preston would be like, I would like to see a U-shaped hole in the door right now, please and thank you. Like, there would be no patience around that. It'd be like, go find my wife and make sure she's okay, right? Well, he's like, let's do a welfare check. She's not answering because I'm at work because I'm trying to have an alibi. There was no sign of a struggle. So he had to ambush her because she was locked and loaded, man. I mean, she really was taking her safety very seriously. Then things start to unravel. And I will tell you, in the early parts of the investigation, they just give him so much benefit of the doubt initially. And he's playing the part of the devastated husband
Mhm.
until they finally get the forensics that I wish they'd had in the first place.
Mhm.
What they find is the emails were from an IP address from Daniel's workplace network. So you can see the interview. And this is the other thing that kills me, Nat. They did not get it to the degree that they had him in the soft interview room. You know how Sandy Campanella talked about the soft interview rooms that are like almost look like a living room? That's what he's in. They did not question him in a big interrogation room. They were talking to him like this poor father who's been trying to keep his wife safe and blah blah blah. He started purchasing burner phones a little bit before this happened.
So
Uh,
I thought the right thing.
Here we go. Of course you did, because everyone but Deputy Duda was on the case on this one, allegedly. No,
Mhm.
he was not. I know because I watched it on TV. All of the geographical data, all of from the burner phones were near his own phone. All the burners. So it's like we're pinging off the same networks. Like, dude, the burners are moving around with his phone, like
Yeah,
on his person, right?
right.
Not a genius. Also, a la the Karen Reed case, how long to die in snow or whatever. I
Mm.
forget what her sentence was, something insane. Here were some of Daniel's Google searches or laptop searches from the night before. When is a head injury a cause for concern? How hard would you have to hit someone in the head to make them unconscious? How long can you be unconscious without brain damage? Okay. The autopsy confirmed blunt force trauma and a stab wound to the heart, right?
Mhm.
And as they dig into the digital forensics, they figure out, okay, Daniel at a minimum is involved, right? At a minimum, he's involved somehow because we can tie the messages to him.
Right. And I mean his Google search.
Here are some of the issues that we've illuminated about law enforcement in this case. So it's amazing how quick they finally found the ex when they decided to do a little detective work. They find him, he lives in Utah, he's been in Utah the whole time and had nothing to do with the case at all.
Right.
Nothing. Police told her repeatedly that they couldn't find him, even though he had a Facebook presence and a Utah address. That's nuts. They never requested geolocation or employment verification.
Mm.
They allowed Daniel to act as a helper, which contaminated inquiry. It contaminated their ability to get the information they needed in the investigation because they just assumed that he was a friendly in the investigation, which cost them time.
Mm.
It cost them time and ultimately allowed him to do what he did. They missed doing the IP address trace, the Wi-Fi logs, taking devices. You know, why wouldn't you look at the husband's device just to clear him? Any good husband, if I was being stalked, my Gare would turn his phone over so fast it'd make your head spin,
Yeah.
just to like move on to the other people.
Right,
And
right.
if anything, it's gonna look
Eh,
like I stalk him because I call him 1 million times a day. You know,
yes. What mile marker are you at?
I, where are you at? Where are you at exactly? Um, the other thing that's interesting about this case, and I want to know your thoughts on this. We talk about confirmation bias, which is especially common sometimes with law enforcement because we really want the thing we think to be true to be true. That's all humans. That is not unique to law enforcement. Now, when you're talking military, law enforcement, they have to make split second decisions.
Right.
They don't have the luxury of critical thinking all the time. So it's a little unfair when we expect them to turn that on and off,
Hmm.
right? Because if you roll up to a hot scene and it's scary and people have guns, you need your body to just go into muscle memory of what to do. You can't be sitting there going, I wonder what they're thinking. You just get like, that's not what you do.
Hmm.
Now, when you get to investigations, though, you really have to be able to hold things loosely and open. And, one of the things that you and I've talked about so many times, we work together because we don't always have the same read on a situation. We may or may not have the same conclusion, which makes our work stronger, not weaker. And sometimes, and particularly, I think in professions where people are overworked and understaffed and that kind of thing, it's just easier sometimes to organize around a theory and just roll that out instead of keeping things open, right? So it also kind of illustrated the need for cyber literacy training for all departments, big and small, so that they can get in there faster,
That's a good idea.
right? So I appreciated that. That was a good thing to think about. One other quote that I actually found when I was prepping for this case I thought was really interesting. And it's an unknown. I don't know who said this, but I thought it was really interesting. Every domestic violence homicide starts with someone not being believed. This one just left a digital trail that no one bothered to read.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the frustrating part is like a quick connect the dots and he would have been in hot water and she'd be alive.
Yeah.
She'd be alive, you know?
Yeah.
On April 17th, 2025, the jury found Daniel Krug guilty of first-degree murder, stalking, and criminal impersonation. He was sentenced to life plus 9.5 years. And the other interesting thing I can say about him is the shift in his affect and
Mm.
posture was very, very creepy. So he went from love of my life to ugh, I can't believe you're still talking to me. You got to make sure and find this guy. I'm not the guy. Like, what are you doing? The shift is weird. So you
Yeah,
have to watch it because
I will.
it's upsetting. And once he shifts, it's very easy to see what
Right.
he's doing and the power and control, and you can see a lot of it. We also find out after that they were under an intense amount of pressure,
Mhm.
and she was planning to leave. And this
Mm.
is the thing we always say, right? And he was really unhappy about that. I
Mhm.
don't know that he really wanted to be with her, but they were not happy together, and Kristil was really trying to leave,
Mhm.
right? Um, it's interesting. One of the things that kind of came to my brain is that law enforcement is not used to, or we've talked about how they don't get a lot of great training in domestic violence, right? And abusive people. I think if I don't have a lot of training, I would expect an abusive, violent, scary husband to show up really aggressive
Right.
in posture, in tone, in what they're saying. And so there's this thing called the calm abuser phenomenon, right?
Mhm.
I think about this with Chris Watts, right?
Yeah.
Because he was believed initially. Brian Laundrie, right?
Mhm.
When a calm abuser interacts with law enforcement has a tendency to give them a lot of credibility
Mhm.
because they seem very calm and in control and whatever. And this Daniel Krug, he looked every bit the supportive husband. And I don't know that he was abusive per se, but when he shifted demeanors, I could understand why she wanted to divorce him.
Right.
You could see it in that moment. And so I don't know necessarily how amped he was on a regular basis, but I could see it in that interview, how he could go from 0 to 60 and be condescending at a minimum and difficult, right? So now, how do we get to a place? This is one of my questions for you, where law enforcement intercepts in these cases better. Obviously, the technology piece, but like goes in with a bit of a more open mind while also being informed about power and control dynamics. Like, what is it going to take to help law enforcement get there?
So that's a really good question. I think so. I'm going to back up to CrimeCon.
Yeah, it's crime con.
Yeah, CrimeCon. I ran into some of the Aurora Police Department because they were there.
Oh yeah,
And
there were some cool guys there.
and it was right after the whole shooting presentation in Aurora.
Mm.
So I was talking to them briefly and I was like I had was not joking but kind of joking because I've like for years have played with the idea of being in law enforcement because I think it would be so interesting.
Oh, me too.
I would love to be a police officer and then detective. So I was telling them that, and I was like, well, I kind of told them, I said, yeah, in a different life, I would have been a police officer. And then they were like, you could come apply. And I was like, yeah, I do this, right? And I told them what I do. Um, and they were like, well, we have a domestic violence unit,
Mm-hmm.
like a whole team for domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think,
We need to build one in Parker. I've been saying this, or Douglas County.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think every department needs a DV unit
Mm-hmm.
genuinely understands the DV dynamics and also the statistics because I think
Mm-hmm.
I this screams that they just didn't know.
Yes.
Like you didn't have to say much. I'm like the husband probably had a burner phone. I want to give him benefit of the doubt because he fell to the floor, but he might have good acting skills.
Well,
Like
apparently he was more tech savvy than the police, which is unfortunate.
I haven't even watched the documentary. It's based on literally what you just told me, and I said all the things that happened,
Oh yeah.
right? And so I'm sitting here thinking like we need more education for law enforcement around these things. I think there are some, like we've talked about, counties who are up to speed.
Yes.
However, a lot of them are not. And
Yes.
that's when we see people end up getting killed when they are not up to speed with domestic violence and power and control dynamics.
Yes.
Every
Yeah.
particular case in point. This case in point.
Case in point. And it's interesting. I'm not surprised to hear that Aurora PD has that. And the reason why, when we went to the talk about the Aurora Theater shooting, there are a lot of people in that department that have been empowered to use critical thinking, to make decisions, ask questions. And I've had very good interactions with Aurora PD. Now, there are some notable issues with lethal force that
Mhm.
may have not been necessary in a few cases. I think you can see that in a lot of departments with inner city overlap.
Mhm.
But I have had, when I worked in the Aurora office, with a pretty significant caseload out there, I had a couple really weird days. And one of the weirdest days was I had a homicidal client who was having a bit of a psychotic break, who'd been radicalized online.
Mhm.
This was when ISIS was doing all their online propaganda crap. They're still doing it, but it was like really happening a lot. And his brain had gotten totally hooked into these videos. And
Oh, you told me about this.
and he had a backpack with him, and he said, I just really want to kill someone. But he wasn't really acting aggressive towards me. He just told me. And I was like, oh, um, who,
Hmm.
who do we want to kill?
Hmm.
And he said, oh, I don't know, probably a white woman. I was like, oh, great, 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 great. Good, good talk. We're the only two people there. I managed to talk this man, and this is where I would rather do what I do than be a detective, because what I do is de-escalation in a whole different way. But I got him talking. And I said, would you mind if I just like moved your backpack over a little? Like that just would make me feel a little bit more comfortable based on what you just said. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay, there's a disconnect happening here between what you just said and whatever. So I like moved his backpack over a little bit and I said, can I just sit with you for a while? And so I sat with him because he wasn't leaving anyway, but I made it look like a joint decision, right? And I
Mhm.
asked him a bunch of questions he told me, and I said, it just sounds like you're really miserable. Like
Mhm.
your thinking's really miserable. And he starts crying. And I
Mhm.
said, would it be okay with you if I just called for some support for you? I think you may need some support. Maybe your meds are off. And he goes, yeah, I do take meds. I'm like, okay, well, it seems like maybe you're a little off today, whatever. So I sit and you know me, Nat, like desperately casual. I've got my feet up on the coffee table, leaning back, just acting like I got all day. And I'm just going to sit with you and it's going to be fine. Well, 4 Aurora cops came because I called and I said, hi. I wish I had the 911 call. Hi. Because I had to call with him. I didn't feel like I could leave. I needed to keep eyes on him.
Yeah.
I have a man here who says he's been radicalized a little bit online and he's just having some really hard thoughts today. And I could really use a unit out here. And then I'm, they're asking me questions like, well, does he have a weapon? I'm like, I'm hanging on to his backpack for him. I know. And they're like, well, is he aggressive? And I said, no, we're just kind of like talking about, just little stuff. And I'm just trying to like make this seem like no big deal. Those officers who responded in that moment, they came really ready to keep me safe. Like they were posturing like I've never really seen before. I think they knew this was a pretty big deal. And they were there fast for Aurora.
Mhm.
That part of Aurora, which was maybe like I think I waited 15 minutes for a
Mhm.
response, which is not super fast, but also he was not an active threat to me per se. Okay. I probably could have run out if I had to. They come in, 4 of them come in. The kindness that they showed this man, they sat down with him, they talked to him. Later, he starts crying. He had ridden his bike to the office. They loaded his bike up. They took him in the ambulance and they loaded his bike up for him so that his bike would be at the hospital when he got out of the hospital because he didn't have any transportation. Like they were really great with him. They looked through his backpack. Like they said, sir, we're going to look through your backpack, and there weren't any weapons in there, thank God, because then I think my heart would have fallen out of my butt, because it was pretty scary. But they took really good care of him. So as much as I sometimes give law enforcement crap, law enforcement has to deal with such a giant range of issues, and it would be such a difficult job.
Mhm.
But in this particular case, the thing that's killing me is a lot of times we just need to be curious. Like are we going to continue? And this is what made Tammy such a badass with Chris Watts is
Mhm.
she just was insatiably curious.
Mhm.
And so it's something Nat and I are passionate about and working on training law enforcement on too, particularly with DV, is you have to stay curious. And Sandy talked about this. Like, what were the dynamics leading up to this? Not just who hit who with the lamp, what's been happening for the last 6 months, six
Right.
years, like getting to the bottom of the story,
Mhm.
I think is really important.
I'm gonna have to watch the documentary because,
You got to watch it.
yeah.
You really need to watch it. The other thing that was hard is I think what they didn't show was a really good victim advocate. So they may have had a really good victim advocate involved, but I was thinking of ours.
Mhm. Oh, she's
The
wonderful.
one we work with, I'm like, she'd be all over this. The first thing our victim advocate would have said is, do we know whose phone it was?
Right.
Who sent the text? I'll
Right.
wait. I know.
How?
She would have been like, I will just sit here. You go ahead and do your thing and you come back with a name.
Yes.
And so I don't know if she had a victim advocate or not, but I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Did not see that.
Yeah.
So wanted to give you guys just a couple of resources again. So, you guys, if you're in a domestic violence situation, I don't know if Kristil was actually in a terrible situation, but certainly things seem to be escalating and she had weird things happening at home and she's getting these messages. You can call 1-800-799-SAFE 7233. So safe, the
Or,
word safe.
yeah, or you can text 88788.
Yep. Also, they have a website, thehotline.org, that has great information. And there's an X at the top to exit the screen really quickly. And if you do, not only does it take you out of that screen, but it removes it from the history,
I
which is
just
a safer way. Yeah, it's a much safer way to look at something on your computer if you're not in a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you guys so much for joining us. And maybe you saw it. If you did, that's my wedding dress. And Kristil was an amazing badass woman who tried to protect herself. And so
Yeah.
I don't know really what could have been done for prevention except the digital forensics on the front end, honestly.
No, for sure.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting.
I know it's
Hmm.
an interesting case. You got to watch it and then tell me what you think.
I will. I will. Well, here's what I'm finding that finding myself doing is you'll like present a case and then we both knew about the Ellen Greenberg one.
Yes,
But, we talked about Ruby, Frankie earlier. And now I'm listening to Sherry's book. This case I'll go watch. There's been a few that I've followed up on after you've presented that I'm like, dang it, I wish I would have watched it before. But
I know.
um, there was one recently that you did, and I watched it after. And I was like, shoot.
So I have one coming up for us to do.
Okay.
I'm going to tease it to Nat real quick, but y'all don't get to see. Well, I guess they would if we post the video. We won't post this
I'll
clip.
post a different clip of the video. Oh, I saw this.
We're going to do this one together. So I
I
haven't
saw this
watched it
one.
yet.
Okay, hold on.
I need to wait until the weekend. I cannot do this when I'm working and then trying to sleep. It will not work. But this is my Saturday afternoon homework is to outline this one.
From 1991.
Yep. And so we will be ready to do that one together, and that's a beast.
Sounds good. I haven't looked into it yet, but it's on my list. So good to know.
Yes, and it's a hard one, but it's a important one.
Okay. Well, stay tuned, you guys.
Stay tuned. We got big ones planned for you, and we will see y'all next week. As always,
Bye, forensic friends.
I'm Janine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.